greatest thing I've ever seen. You're overdue. I just felt it's something that makes you look good, and that's cool, and you know, I'm all for it, but I think you need to tone this down because now it's getting obtrusive to the show. But they can go in the afternoon for a US
Hold
show,
on a second.
as they did there, and they can do 180,000 buys for an afternoon show, which they've also done for All In. So
okay,
we know they can do. We know they can do big.
Can I continue this before you cut me off? We know one thing.
Yes.
We know it might have done well because it went on first.
I'm not saying it would.
Here's my thing, Dave.
But here's okay. Wait. Okay, here's the thing. Oh my God, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. I mean, it didn't mean anything to me. It was just a match.
That's the problem, Dave. It should mean something to you.
Give him a quick squash win just to show that, like, you know, he's not a loser.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Dave Meltzer Dumb Moment of the Week. I am your host, Phil Marks of Pro Wrestle Times, and we're live here on YouTube with the replay airing wherever you listen to podcasts. Use the RSS feed in the link description below and add it manually if you can't find it on search. Hit like, hit subscribe. Super chats are welcome. Consider becoming a member. I'll be responding to those throughout the evening. And tonight we have Dave Meltzer discussing who should be Booker of the Year, Triple H or Tony Khan. We have more Shilling for AEW. We have Bryan Alvarez blowing up, getting belted, blowing up about Monet's belts, and also a bunch of glaze over the Blood and Guts event that went down last night, depending when you're listening to this time cop. Okay, so let's get into some Dave Meltzer Dumb Moment of the Week. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe. And again, if you're listening to this in the audio form, thank you so much. Give like a 5-star rating or whatever they do. I don't know.
Tell me. Yeah.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, flutes in the chat. And I need to see plenty of flutes in the chat because it is time for everybody's favorite segment turn show. And it is called Dave Meltzer's Dumb Moment of the Week. And it's featuring Bryan Alvarez. So we have quite a bit to get to this evening. We have lots of clips and just all around fun stuff. I want to start things off with some star ratings, though. I think that's sort of become routine on this show. So CM Punk versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship at Saturday night's main event garnered 4 stars from the Wrestling Observer. 4 stars. So put that in your pipe and yeet it. Put that in your entrance and yeet it, haters. Moving along here. We have more star ratings for the week. So this came out November 7th. This is about a week ago. And here is like the week prior to that star ratings here from Drain Bamager. So Bandito versus Dorada 2 got a 4 3/4 stars. Ichiban Sweet Boys versus Ishimori and Robbie X got 4 3/4 stars. So this was the greatest. These were the greatest wrestling matches of all time took place last week, guys. We just didn't know about it. Takeshita versus Goto got 4.5. Tsuji versus Tanahashi. Tsuji, Tony Khan has expressed wanting to poach, I guess, already. 4.5 stars. Babes of Wrath versus Athena and Mercedes Monea. Oh, come on, Philo Marks. That's not a very fair when you do that to me. Mercedes, so that's 4 1/4 stars. So Mercedes way better in Japan than she is in AEW, I guess. Darby versus Garcia, or that would have been in AEW, actually. Yeah, this is just a mix of matches here. Darby versus Garcia, 4 stars. CMLL Women's Grand Prix got 4 stars. Just the whole thing. Claudio versus Orange Cassidy got 3 3/4 stars. And Conglomeration versus LFI got 3 3/4 stars. Okay. So I don't know what the fuck Dave is ever thinking with these. Again, I've broken this down innumerable times, how he comes up with this shit. And, how he comes up with this shit and him coming up with a bunch of bullshit all the time and being called out as a goddamn liar and being fed faulty information or being fed stories that you'd tell someone in passing, and then he fucks around and stretches it out into like a news story or whatever. Everybody's roasting Dave, right? There's a whole good goddamn show about it now. And shout out, of course, the GOAT. Meltzer said what? He's been on it for just years now, but it's fashionable to roast Meltzer. And someone who's been roasting Meltzer like once an episode of 83 weeks because Conrad, oh, come on, that's not very fair, Phil, to put that on me. To say that I chat him up about not only car insurance and not only Steve's Jewelers. They're like selling jewelry now on the pod. I was listening the other day. Conrad Thompson always brings up Dave and cites Dave when talking about old WCW shit. So Bischoff has all of these great, like, retroactive Meltzer roasts, that we're going to bring to the show here eventually. But Bischoff, he had this to say about roasting Meltzer just in general. And let's take a listen to this clip.
The number of people that are calling Dave Meltzer out for his silly shit is just inspiring to me, because there's so much actual knowledge out there. The wrestling audience no longer those who are really interested in the behind the scenes stuff no longer have to reply at a single source idiot like Dave Meltzer or any number of other, at the time, dirt sheets.
Exactly. The internet usurped them, and usurped what Dave was doing.
Now you've got real people, Raj Giri being one of them. We call him an analyst.
Eric, he got drunk one time and tweeted angry stuff on Twitter one time drunk, so he doesn't count.
Part of the internet wrestling community, sure he is. So am I, by the way. But he's smart. He's run a business. He's built a business. He's sold a business. He knows the wrestling business. So when you've got guys like Raj, my agent Nick over at Paradigm, you've got people who...
Oh, so Eric is public with that? Okay. Right on.
really know the business.
Because there's guys like, whatever. There's people who aren't like public about who their agents are and shit. I didn't know Eric Bischoff. I didn't know that was like a...
Calling out Dave on his bullshit.
Nick is his agent.
I just find it refreshing. I think it's great. I think it's the evolution of the internet wrestling community as more and more fans get smart to the fact that Dave doesn't really know what he's talking about. He's wrong more than he's right. And he is really one of the most out of touch people I've ever heard commentate on a modern television product. It's bizarre. But people are starting to recognize that. And that's reassuring to me.
Hell yeah. So speaking of reassurance here, Dave Meltzer. Oh yeah, we missed a star rating. Look at this, a 1.75 to Tiffy and Jade. How dare I miss that 1.75? One of the worst matches in the history of matches. And Dave, he's just incredulous. He can't ever keep his goddamn story straight. We're going to get more on that in a second, but here's some Eric Bischoff and Raj Giri action. And then I want to show you guys, I just want to bring up something, to show you like Dave's biases here. But Eric Bischoff responds to Raj Giri, who had this to say. Raj says, Dave Meltzer can't get through an AEW critique without the words, but WWE does it too, following it. And that's why, again, we play the whataboutism here. You got to defeat them with their own. Like, I don't like talking about key demos as much as the next guy. But if Dave wants to talk about key demos, we'll okay, let's do that then. We'll own you at that. So when Dave does the whataboutism, you do, when he's criticizing WWE, you just do it right back and it all blows up in his face. Dave keeps comparing the two, even though one's been on the upswing for the last few years and the other has been on a steep downswing. Last live show, you guys know, last night, depending when you're listening to this. Again, Time Cop! It's never too early for a Time Cop reference. we compared TNA. Like I was trying my best to compare like TNA to AEW throughout the show as much as I could. Inevitably WWE has to come into the conversation because everybody, we're just reacting to shit here and talking about shit here, and everybody compares the two. But it is like, if you want to compare NXT, sure. If you want to compare companies, though, it's TNA and AEW in my book. Eric Bischoff for years has been criticizing AEW for their storytelling, and each year they've suffered big drops in popularity. Meltzer almost every week praises Dynamite for being a great show. Bischoff has been critical. The numbers are out there. Who's the fraud? Exactly. That's all that needs to be asked right there. And Bischoff says, for about 5 years, I've based on my experience in television in general and sports entertainment specifically, pointed out what the product needed. I have discussed in great detail why the product needed it, and even predicted a year in advance where the ratings would be left unaddressed. And here we are. And I'm running at 98.844% on the money. But the obsessed, socially challenged fan base, led by the most delusional tape trader turned cosplay wrestling journalist, continue to gather in their increasingly shrinking pool of bottom feeders to convince each other they are relevant. And I mean, yeah, Bischoff coming through and just dropping bombs. You gotta love it. And this is why I want to give you guys the perfect example. So Blood and Guts, which we're gonna talk about, it went down last night, or depending when you're listening to this time. I'm just kidding. Keep doing that the whole fucking show. It gets played out. But so Dave Meltzer, he criticized Stephanie Vaquer. We covered this like a couple episodes ago. I think, of this show, right? Hashtag DMDMW flute, if you guys want to hashtag this online. But Dave Meltzer criticized Stephanie Vaquer as being pre-programmed for the crowd chanting "one more time" and her not obliging recently. That was his exact words. And he won't, and I tweeted out, he won't do or say the same thing about Jamie Hayter and Sky Blue for that table spot. Flute, blood and hashtag blood and guts, hashtag dynamite. And yeah, he won't, and he hasn't. So we'll see. But he said that Stephanie Vaquer, one of the best women's pro wrestlers in the world, is pre-programmed because the crowd was like, one more time, and she didn't fucking do the devil's kiss a second or third time. Meanwhile, with the table spot, the same exact thing, and Dave won't even bring that up as a critique. And again, this might be nitpicking, but got quite a bit of likes because it is a dunk on Meltzer. Like, where's the same energy? Like, you want to play whataboutism when it comes to AEW to WWE, but when it comes to your critiques of WWE, he never wants to then put the same type of whataboutism with AEW. And meanwhile, he says one show sucks, one show's good, and then the complete opposite. Like, someone said this the other day too. I can't remember. Maybe this is on like YouTube or something. But someone was just talking about like how clearly bad and unpopular WWE is right now. And it's like, bro, what the fuck? Like, the ticket prices have doubled or tripled since Vince left. And we're talking about all of these, like, they've done how many fucking sellouts and how many near sellouts, and 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, 16,000 routinely every week. They're putting up numbers 12,000, 14,000. It's like, and then these pay-per-views are doing huge, like, live attendances, and still millions of people going out of their way to stream it or watch it on network or whatever the fuck. I just don't know how you could say it's clearly unpopular and shit like that. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. Speaking of things that don't make sense, Dave Meltzer just conspiracy theorizes that wrestlers may have been told to back off Ridge Holland's GoFundMe after Backlash. So, like, Dave speculates that we didn't see WWE people donating to his GoFundMe because WWE told them to back off, Bryan. And it's like, bro.
Poor people don't like AEW.
It's like, dude, Chelsea Green pledged to donate $1,000 a month or whatever the fuck. What are you talking about? Just because one of the Bucks donated and Dave's feeling himself like it's some sort of fucking own. Speaking about Ridge Holland here, so Dave has a take on WWE cutting him and how it's big bad Fed for cutting him when he's injured.
So the Ridge Holland situation, he's been pretty vocal. There was a GoFundMe created.
WWE, they have to be upset from a perception standpoint because they were very mad at him for that tweet. They fired him essentially for that tweet last week. And then the GoFundMe, has to be even worse because it's like, here's this guy who's a TV star who, is
TV star. You guys all shit on him, man. You guys all shit on him. All you sicko hive mind. Fucking Dave Meltzer's the sicko mind flare.
Just a very short.
He's sicko Vecna, right? Who's sicko Vecna? It might be that Bryan's the mind flare and Meltzer's Vecna.
And he was still being paid, right? Who's doing GoFundMe. And I know people I've seen in social media, people mocking the idea that this guy needs a GoFundMe when he's still getting paid a pretty significant salary. It should be a non-issue because they should have never put him in the position to bring it up in the first place. It should have been.
Why should that have been what it was? This is what I mean. Like, okay, now explain why it should have been that way. Again, I can see it from both sides. People can call that fence sit and fill all they fucking want, but it's just me. It's just me who calls myself that. But dummy. But yeah, it's just like, why should it have been that though? Like, give a good reason. It doesn't, because they offered him 3 years. If he was still hurt, or if he had this neck shit going on and they gave him the 3 years, it wouldn't have been an issue. But the fact is, he just wanted to go for 1 year. So then when his shit came up, they released him. And what are they supposed to do? Oh, we'll care for you for the next 3 years like we offered to do, but you said no to us. It just looks like egg on Ridge's face. And then you have Dave white knighting for him. And it's like, Dave, you're not helping anybody. Ridge probably thinks you're a fucking mark, dude.
Don't cut it. Don't cut a guy, when he's recovering from surgery for an injury that he did working for you.
But they just didn't cut him though. So what happened was it was a 3-year deal. So you're lying. And then he wanted a 1-year deal. So then they gave him the 1-year deal. And then they said, we're not renewing it. And you can go home now and we'll pay you for the last couple months, whatever, but then you're done. Or however the fuck it worked out. It's like it wasn't cutting a guy while he needs neck fusion. And then also it came out that WWE's paying for the neck fusion. So again, Dave, like, study and learn. Get your goddamn facts straight. Again, Dave, I would be a top Patrick Mahomes. I'd be a top sports reporter or political reporter, Bryan, if I wasn't in wrestling. Except Biden. So Meltzer said, post this? And he goes, I was today years old when I learned that Dave Meltzer and Mike Tenay were the first people to notice that baseball players were on steroids in the late 90s when nobody else was talking about it. So baseball players being on steroids in the late 90s is like a fucking trope. It's been covered in cartoons all the way through. It's like a part of pop culture. It's like everybody acknowledges that part of like baseball history and American history in general, right? All the baseball players are on roids. But according to Dave Meltzer, it was he and Mike Tenay noticed, Bryan, that everyone was on the gas before anyone else did. We studied and learned.
He knows people. I don't know if he knew people on
Patrick Mahomes.
Every team, but he knew people from a lot of teams as far as management people and stuff. Anyone who came from LA, anyone who came through Vegas, right? And I remember him one day just telling me, it's like, this is late 90s, right? And he's going like, these baseball players, he goes like, how naive is
he goes like these baseball players, he goes
Like, how naive is everyone in baseball? How naive are these reporters? These guys all look like, Bill Goldberg. He didn't use the term Bill Goldberg because they all look like, they look bigger than the wrestlers, It's like, and baseball players were never, when we were kids, baseball players were tiny next to the wrestlers. You know what I mean? The wrestlers were the guys.
What is he? There's like Andre the Giant. Next up at bat, Andre the Giant. Right? Like, what are you talking about, bro? No, the wrestlers were still bigger than these dudes, but they were just doing juice and fucking clacking homers, man. And of course, because we like wrestling and we know about guys on roids, and it's the 90s. It's not like in the 80s everybody didn't know people were on steroids and shit. And in the 90s, they just weren't saying, it was just taboo to talk about. But around the time, Dave and Mike Tenay realized around the time when everyone was talking about it and it was like huge scandals and everything, fucking Dave knew before anyone else that the baseball players, all the reporters were naive, but Dave, the wrestling observer, was no so naive.
And took steroids long before he ever got into baseball. And just going like these baseball players are so jacked. Everyone's on steroids, not meaning everyone, but enough, right? And it's just like, and no one's talking about it. And these writers, they don't get it. They don't even know.
They don't get it, Bryan.
You know what I mean? It's like, it was like a whole world. And you know how the reporting was done in that era. The naivete was
the naivete, Bryan.
I would like read it and go like, do you guys know what's going on with the sport? With all these home runs, it's like it's pretty obvious. And like, until it got really bad.
Oh, Dave. Yeah, it was obvious.
Bad.
It was.
Nobody talked about it. Then all of a sudden it became this big giant thing, but it was like.
So until it got bad, no one was talking about it, but Dave Meltzer was talking about it, snickering, laughing. Instead of writing an article, everyone's on roids, I can prove it. The real journalists waited till they had real proof, and these people got busted, and it got so out of hand that it was like ridiculous. But Dave knew way before. But he just stuck to writing about fucking Mark Pro Wrestling instead of pointing this out, this thing that could have put his name up there with like some of the great, like you're just so full of shit, Dave.
It had to,
and there's no evidence of it.
What, 5, 6, 7 years later before it really became a thing, before it actually got out?
7 years before everyone knew. Dave knew.
Probably because McGuire broke Babe Ruth's record, and now all of a sudden you broke the freaking, I know it's Roger Maris's record too, but you broke that record. Now all of a sudden it's like, you cheated to break that record. Now we're on. Now we're going to talk about it because you cheated to do it.
He's just such a delusional fucking person.
I don't know if he.
So he knew about it before anyone. And he's like, it's so obvious what's going on. Meanwhile, he doesn't. He's like, and you know how reporting was back then? They were all dipshits. No, it was just, you couldn't just salaciously make shit up and just say shit about people like you can nowadays and like you've always done, Dave. And back then there was like journalistic integrity and people didn't just run with fucking crazy accusations like that. And you wanted to play hindsight and pretend that you fucking knew about this because you watched pro wrestling and they were all on roids. It's just like, come on, man. And speaking of like bullshit and bias again, so this is another gotcha for Dave. So this is Jedi Goodman. He's known in like the MMA community, right? If you're watching UFC, some of his tweets, I think he's one of those guys where like they often will show tweets from his account and shit like that. Just like whatever. Per Wrestling Observer newsletter. Based on Google Trends, the UFC. So Dave uses Google Trends for UFC and MMA. Why? Because there's just UFC and there's, UFC's the best show and you just have to admit that. And there's no competitor and he has no vested interest, right? Scott Coker or one of these other guys isn't phoning Dave Meltzer on the phone. Incoming call, Tony Khan. He's not getting calls like that there's no vested interest and it's all a shoot. So they're all being physical. So it's not like he can say, oh, the MMA over here is better. Right? That's how you know he's a mark and just likes when guys can do moves in pro wrestling because it's like, well, it's not a shoot. So what makes this better? Well, I mean, it's pre-programmed. Well, it's pro wrestling. It's all pre-programmed. That's the whole point. That's why you train it. You train MMA so you can learn to get punched in the face, and you can fucking, your stamina's up, your cardio's up. You can eat leg kicks, your body, you're ready, your mind, body, spirit, all that shit. Pro wrestling, you're rehearsing a dance. It's like in the movie Ready to Rumble, right? It's like Jimmy King when they're in the trailer and he's like, it's a dance, right? You understand? It's a dance, right? Crown him. I will rule you. So Dave, when it comes to MMA, though, he has no like vested interest in fucking protecting any of these companies. So he uses Google Trends for UFC. But he won't use that for AEW. He just goes, all the pay-per-views are through the roof, even when the Google Trends are like way down in comparison. So when people see me or Switchblade pull Google Trends, and Dave does the same thing. Your daddy Dave does the same fucking thing. And I don't ever pull Google Trends personally. Other people just post shit and I just repost it because I find that interesting. But ain't nobody got time for that. No, I was joking. Based on Google Trends, the UFC 318 show with Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway was the biggest show of the year. The second biggest could have been 319, which was Dricus du Plessis versus Hamzat Chimaev. UFC 320 with Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev was down 30% from UFC 319. 321 with Aspinall versus Cyril Gahn and Mackenzie Dern versus Jan Jaroba was down 45% from the 319 numbers. It was who gives a fuck? Dave using Google Trends for MMA, but won't look at that data at all when it comes to AEW. Okay, and he's losing his goddamn mind because all of this hair dye seeping.
Dyeing your hair.
Bro, Vince Russo comes and shout out Jeff Lane, bro. And Vince Russo, bro, we're working the marks here, and we also do educational video. Bro, let me tell you how I educate these marks in professional wrestling, bro. So here, they're going to list off the ingredients of fucking Just for Men or hair dye or whatever, the chemicals in it and what it can do, and it seeps into your brain.
Dyeing your hair can lead to temporary hair loss, primarily due to breakage and damage from harsh chemicals, but it typically does not cause permanent hair loss. Chemical damage. Hair, eyes, especially permanent ones, contain strong chemicals like ammonia and peroxide that can weaken the hair shaft. These chemicals penetrate the hair cuticle, altering its structure and making it more prone to brittleness and
he's bald
breakage. Temporary shredding. While dyeing can lead to increased hair shedding, this is often a result of hair breakage rather than loss from the root. The hair that falls out may not have a bulb at the end, indicating it broke off rather than being shed from the follicle. Dyeing your hair.
It's so funny that it's just funny that he's like reading what it can do to your hair. It's like, yeah, that on top of his, male pattern baldness or whatever the fuck, yeah. So Meltzer, I don't know, that hair dye is just sinking in too deep, and that's why he's just losing his shit a little bit. And we have ratings talk, but we have some more ownage here. Well, we already covered that. We already covered Raj Giri owning him there. But we have Dave Meltzer like coping over what AEW is considered when it comes to Warner Bros. And we have him coping and seething over WWE. Here, let me check in with chat quickly here because I see we have a super chat. Ken Dudley for 5 says one reason AEW's viewership is down is because America's economy is in the toilet and poor people don't like AEW. You brought it right back. That
poor
was a
people
good one.
Don't like AEW.
Excellent. I appreciate that a lot. So Dave Meltzer and Trine Bryan, okay, they talk about WWE and the booking aspect of which we're going to get into when they discuss the Booker of the Year, Brian. But we have some Trine Bryan and just some comments on WWE stuff here, which I want to pull up. So Trying Bryan. Okay, here's him shitting on NXT again. And he feels all self-important, and he thinks that they're writing this show to fuck with him personally.
What did you think of that NXT last night, Tom?
It was a show that happened. I haven't really thought 1 second of.
Oh, really?
Since it went down.
Are you aware that this show is written just to irritate you and me? You ever notice that?
Sometimes it seems that way.
For 1 second, and I am not exaggerating, on the screen flashes Shawn Legacy Ava, and it's gone. It's gone. Disappeared into the thin air. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And then, you know whose name they do put up on the screen? Sol Ruca and Zarya. You know who else's name they put on the screen? Thea Hale.
Okay, they put a Taco Bell commercial on the screen during Jack Perry's commercial. I don't think I even heard you say one word about that. I mean,
JC Jane, Jordan Grace, Kalani.
Again, not to do the whataboutism, but it's like, where's his outrage? I mean, provided Bryan does snap a little bit on the belts, the Monet belts during this show, which I do appreciate.
Jordan. Like, they're throwing up the names of all of these people who we already know because they're actually on NXT every week. But the people they refuse to identify are the people from the internet show. God.
Right, because they don't give a oh, my God. Yeah, he just doesn't get it. I mean, do I just go off on Bryan right now for being such a goddamn moron? Go and get my damn beer, you freaking morons. Oh, man. They're not putting the graphic up for the guys we don't know. Yeah, because you don't know them. They don't matter. They're trying to just get over their TV stars. Like, I know in the company you glaze, they just bring guys out and then they go, Google it. And then you, off to the side to Filthy Tom Lawler, have to sneakishly behind Dave's back go, you know what, man? You guys are going to get 400,000 viewers if you sickos don't get it together. But it's like,
what do you think of that NXT last?
Yeah, they're not booking for the internet sickos and the people, those ID folks. Did you just see all them leave out of nowhere? So you're not going to just start showing people on TV. That's the risk. And I called this out before anyone else. I don't know about before anybody else, but for surely before Dave and Bryan, that's the risk WWE is going to run by doing this TNA indie crossover shit. Zeta Steele is backstage in fucking AEW. She's apparently signed over there, or signing to Ring of Honor or whatever the fuck. So she parlayed her TV time and the shine that WWE gave her right away, not even like a year later. She parlayed that shit into like getting a job elsewhere with the same name and shit. Like, this is the type of stuff, this is the risk that they ran, and they know it. And so, yes, they're going to show Tatum Paxley's name, and they're not going to show random guy on Tubi that, like, is lucky to be getting a fucking shot on Evolve or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't get why Bryan never grasps these, like, obvious things. It's because it's faux outrage trying to hate on this show. So, we have Dave Meltzer's comments here on Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio, and he says it's reportedly not planned. Rey and Dominic are not wrestling in San Diego. Except actually, I heard, it's like these guys, Hechicero isn't either, Bryan. So I did that. I did, find that out too. I don't know. I don't know. You know what that means, Bryan. I don't know if that means Cena and Dom is still on, or they're going in a different, except Batman to where they were going. Because the Cena, none of what I just read makes any sense because I just fucking wrote it off a cliff. Because the Cena and Dom title change was going to be in San Diego originally, not in Boston. So again, like, just easy to say after it happened, Oh, it's supposed to be on this day. I swears it. It's like, okay. I guess you get that one, Dave. Speaking of, let's see here. So Dusty Dave, man, he just starts like defending. Let's just start ripping through these clips and going through this stuff here, like, so pretty much the next chunk of this show is Dave glazing AEW like crazy, comparing Tony Khan and Triple H as bookers and who's going to get the Booker of the Year award. And then, of course, blaming WWE for like Tanahashi not being able to wrestle Shinsuke. I think we covered that bit, but he just starts glazing Okada really hard because even Dave Meltzer was marking out for like Shinsuke versus Tanahashi, but then it turns out Okada is going to be the opponent instead. And so Dave is like, oh, WWE, you know, didn't let him do it or whatever. I think we covered that already, but this is Dave now. He's just like, well, now that prospect is off the table, he's just like, oh, Okada's the GOAT of all time, his greatest rival, which this might be true, but this is just the start of him absolutely spurging out over like not understanding, you know, WBD and just making excuses. And again, it's crazy because on last week's Dave Meltzer Dumb Moment of the Week, hashtag double DMW, we were like playing a lot of bass flutes, and we were like, dude, this is Meltzer like coming in with some good solid takes here, like a few of them. Of course, we got to rip him endlessly. And I said it was because I thought that he took so many L's and he knows he's going to take so many more. And there's going to be like this huge meltdown incoming when all of this AEW shit blows up in his face. So he's trying to like save face right now. But then he literally couldn't help himself. Like the next day after last week's show, he just fucking melted down, completely lost his mind, started just fucking defending AEW, being ridiculous.
Oh my God.
A hypocrite, going back on shit he said. So we're just going to go over a bunch of that and all of the hilarity. So here was Tanahashi's greatest opponent. It's Okada.
All right. Well, they finally announced the opponent for Tanahashi's last match, and it is, in fact, Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah, Nakamura
Bri, don't sound too disappointed there, huh?
was interested in doing it. I don't know what happened. You know, there's a lot of stories going around.
Listen to him. Nakamura was. Listen to what he says. Like he knows matter of fact.
Was interested in doing.
Nakamura was interested in doing it. I spoke to him. How the fuck do you know this? So Dave is just making up that part. He was interested. You know, they wanted it, but it's up to the WWE at the end of the day, even though Shinsuke's contract allows him. He's just such a goddamn moron, man.
It. I don't know what happened. You know, there's a lot of stories going around. The only thing I know is that he was, well, obviously he was interested because he did that thing a couple weeks. And, you know, I remember, you know, asking about it at the time, and they, from WWE, and they just said that there's no deal, but, you know, he does have something in his contract.
You remember asking about it at the time, the thing that came up like 3 weeks ago, Dave? What are you talking about?
They still have to approve it, so I don't know.
It's literally Bryan Alvarez starts this by going, so Tanahashi versus Okada. And then Dave just starts spurging and sputtering out over fucking WWE and Shinsuke Nakamura. Like, what the fuck, man? This guy's got a real problem.
That stood or how it fell apart. You look at Tanahashi's career and go,
and then just 2 seconds, the last little 2 seconds of this clip on Tanahashi and Okada. Just buries WWE and then gets into this. He doesn't really care about Okada and Tanahashi. He doesn't give a fuck. He's going to give it 12 stars anyways. He just wants to bury WWE.
How it fell apart. You look at Tanahashi's career and go, who was Tanahashi's greatest opponent? It's Okada. There's no argument there. It's not Naito. It's not Nakamura.
All right. Well, they
Nakamura. So speaking of New Japan, here's some more on everyone that's successful has the feeling that we know how to do it better than everyone else. So let's take a listen here.
This is why like WWE is different from AEW and New Japan and everything like that. In these other companies, they build
the companies that aren't successful or
match around surprises in the match and things that you don't see coming. And in WWE, it's
so like John Cena's heel turn, or like What? I just don't get what that means. Okay, so when the Young Bucks wrestle and they do the same fucking moves, we're all surprised and don't see that coming. He's fucking delusional and just doesn't even know what he's talking about.
You've established these moves. My opponent's established.
Okay, so bro, that's what all of wrestling is. So when Hangman does the buckshot, he's established that move, right? That's why the crowd pops for it. What does he do differently that we didn't see coming? Go through a table or get into a chop battle with Ishii? What are you talking about, man? That's what all of pro wrestling is. Yep. You do your fucking moves. We pop for them. You set them up in unique ways. What is Dave? This is insane cope right here. Oh my God.
Moves. And we're going to just do these.
Chat, run the likes up for fucking this Meltzer cope right here. My goodness.
These moves over and over again because they're easy pops. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a more simple match. It's easier to get a pop for moves when you keep doing those moves. It's not as easy to get a intensity and a reaction for the entire match, which is why the WWE match is slow until you start hitting your finishers, and then they're pop.
But no, he's just speaking in general. Like Penta comes out every Raw and he just comes out fucking flying. Does he pace better? Yes, Dave, you just don't like pacing. Because you're like a mush-brained goofball. I don't know what to tell you, dude. You just want to see move, false finish, like scrolling through fucking TikTok. Dopamine. You don't want to be told a story. You don't want there to be little thing like... Here's the thing too, dude. On the TV show, it's of course different than the pay-per-view, than the PLE, because the television show is, or the Netflix show is the ad for your PLE. In AEW, it's just every show is a bunch of fucking, even blood and guts. It's just a bunch of brawling and chaos and shit happening. 2 blood and guts matches, 1 false count anywhere match, and then a big brawl backstage between like 12 guys. And it's all just hardcore. You might as well be called ECW. There are no rules. The rules are there are no rules.
For all the moves. Whereas in AEW, you're going to
under road
have more heat for the match because they're, you know what I mean? It's not about just the big moves, which is, you know, the finishing moves done over and over and over again. In Japan, it's about the hard hitting and the fight and the struggle. And those moves are obviously part of it. And you do exchange the finishers in a similar way, but it's not as patterned, I would say. So everyone that's successful has the feeling that we know how to do.
So even New Japan's patterned, Dave,
do it better than everyone else. And
yes, the most successful people know how to do it better than anyone else. Period. Taylor Swift knows how to sing, look like a superstar, tour the world, come up with unique fucking designs and all this shit for her outfits and her... I don't know if you guys have ever been to a Taylor Swift concert. She has like fucking mini films in between, you know, wardrobe changes or whatever, right? With celebrities in them and shit that are her friends. Like, a lot goes into this. And yeah, she's going to think she knows how to do it better than people who aren't doing it at that level. Why? What? It's just insane. It's insane, Dave. You're coping.
It's hard for them to adapt to other styles to begin with. So usually they don't.
And imagine saying it's hard for WWE to adapt to other styles when you have some of the greatest strong style, indie style, luchadors, women's wrestlers ever, all assembled on a roster. People from AEW, people from who were just raised NIL, people who came from the FCW days and stuff. Like, you have a mix of everything, every style, and they're doing it at the highest level right now, entertaining like the masses, and WWE's getting mainstream again. And it has been for a little while. Like, let's be honest here. And it's like such a problem. But if the shoe was on the other foot with the style of wrestling, that Dave likes. And imagine Dave too, like shitting on Nuge in this. There's I mean, it's hard hitting and move, but like there's a style. There's a pattern, he said, rather. There's a pattern. Yes, just like in AEW. What are you not? All they do is just hard hitting, move. There's no storytelling in AEW. Right? Speaking in generalities, nothing that good. Honestly, though, like Hangman Joe's been pretty good. Like they're building up to a cage. That's been okay. And I don't know, man. Just people aren't into the conglomeration and the Death Riders, and like you couldn't have chosen where it doesn't matter. You could write them the greatest story of all time, but if they don't deliver, it's like the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Okay, imagine Ferris Bueller's Day Off with who's the guy who played McLovin? Like cast McLovin in it. It's not going to hit as hard. Maybe that's a bad because those are like different eras, but you guys get what I'm saying? Like, hey, Ferris Bueller's Day Off starring like Michael Cera or whatever the fuck. It's not gonna, you could write the greatest script in the world if the cast is ass, or like the director doesn't know what they're doing, or the story surface level and there's no payoff to anything. You know what I mean? Like there's so many ways to extrapolate or conflate, not just to compare it to like WWE or whatever the fuck. But yeah, I don't know, man. He's trying to say AEW's like the cream of the crop story-wise and wrestling-wise and everything-wise, but all of the numbers and measurable data proves otherwise. All of any metric you can measure by scientifically proves otherwise. And also there's like wrestlers walking out of shows and suing the company and fucking have all these things to say, and people biting their tongues on shit, like the Rhodes is all biting their tongues on shit, and all of these things. It's maddening that Dave is so delusioned, but he's just a shark-eyed monster. You can just see it in his face. He's shark-eyed. There's nothing behind
AEW is, of course, the exception where there's no real style. It's kind of like
there's no real style in AEW. It's not just Nuge mixed with indie garbage, and they just do the worst of both of those things. That's not a style. It's just its own unique thing where Ridge Holland could pull up and wrestle his style. That's the thing. If you're supposed to love all the styles of wrestling, then the show's supposed to have all the styles of wrestling. AEW doesn't have all the styles of wrestling. And everyone's like, it's a buffet, it's a smorgasbord. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay? In WWE, it's way more arguable that's the case, because you'll get a lucha style match where it's like, holy fuck, it's unique because we're used to quote unquote American style, and it's not a unique style of wrestling. When literally we watch the women do a War Games and then we watch the men do a fucking War Games, and the spots are the same. And that goes for WWE too. I think 2 War Games is too much on a goddamn show. I'll be the first to criticize it, but it's like, it's just New Japan style, but then they just mixed in the hardcore elements from the indies, and they're just like, let's try and take it to the next step with weapons. Like, what weapons haven't been used that'll pop people the way thumbtacks pop people? But thumbtacks and glass are like, and fire are the sickoest you can go to. Okay. Gussets and light tubes and even glass, like even the fake sugar glass, people are like, no, it's garbage. Fishbowl drownings, needles, cinder blocks, power bombs and shit. People are just, it's not good. And then when people say, well, WWE popped someone's eyeball out, yeah, that was trash. Like, fucking, yes, we'll be the first motherfuckers to tell you that's garbage, And that's why they don't do that shit all the time. And it's not that it all has to be WWE as well. Not everything has to be that way, but they lost the opportunity to give it that sports feel and make AEW like, oh shit, like make us care about these 2 guys. Like Takeshita and Okada, they're some of the elites from Japan. So this is going to be a hard-hitting, fucking throwing elbows back and forth match. But instead, every match is like that. And then Eddie Kingston goes out there and lays his sloppy fucking slaps in. And then Ishii's out there with Moxley and they're just slapping each other. And then Takeshita and Okada go in there and try and do their Japanese strong style shit. And it doesn't hit because you're like, the fuck, we've seen a variation of this 100 fucking times. That's why when the Young Bucks go out there and do their flippy shit and then they jump off shit. And then you have Jet Speed go out there and they're diving off, they're flipping off shit or whatever. It's not as, and then Osprey goes out there and flips off shit and throws guys in the air and does these twisting cutters and there's 10 million kickouts. People are like, what the fuck? It's just gymnastics. Yes, because it's, and then there's like 15 matches. You're overwhelmed with all the same shit. Everyone just trying to go long, everyone trying to hard hit and fly if they can. That's all it fucking is in AEW. Dave is just so delusional, thinking that these other companies, even like TNA, dude, they're just looking at story-based wrestling week to week. And then when you get to the PLE, all wrestling story-based to a degree, or it should be, like fundamentally in a way, right? And so at the PLE, we're going to fucking blow them away with like a bunch of matches. And that's not good enough either, because when WWE did that recently, they had 4 matches in a row or whatever. Dave and Bryan cried about it. Oh, there's just matches and no schmazzes? What the fuck? It's like, yeah, because you guys, like, they're not doing it because of you motherfuckers, but like they're calling you out. You know what I mean? We went over Bryan crying over NXT. We're not even gonna, that's every week now. Oh, this is like, yeah, okay, we went over that one. It's like a weird phantom bookmark if you guys are watching on YouTube, which is all good. So the topic, though, of TNA has come up, and we've been comparing, TNA to, well, first let's go through Dave, like just defending Max and WBD and how they categorize AEW, not defending them rather, but it is them because they own a chunk of AEW. So in a way, again, Dave is too stupid for his own good. He just keeps like throwing people under the bus while thinking he's putting over another company. And this was like the day after last show, I believe. He just had a complete meltdown trying to defend AEW and the ratings and all of this, WBD might sell and, closing bids, or by the end of the year, they're expecting a sale, or Zaslav's looking to get one done, and all this shit's coming out, and it's not looking good for Wavy Davy. It's not looking good for AEW. It isn't. Okay. And it's because they listen to Dave and they don't listen to motherfuckers who've been saying, like Eric Bischoff, who are like, dude, you should try this or that, or like, you're headed in the wrong direction. This is the problem, is the fight used to be like, hey, you're headed in the wrong direction. You're headed in the wrong direction. And then it's like, oh my God, fuck, like this is shit. This is shit. This is shit. And now it's just like, okay, so this is cooked any minute now. Like, what the fuck? This is all going to blow up in Dave's face. And, here's him just sort of defending and arguing and not really understanding what he's talking about and just coping. It's just massive cope overall. And then he copes over Chris Jericho and what he had to say about TNA and all the comparisons to TNA. And what's funny is that with shows like this and with me being able to sort of help and shift and, influence maybe some narrative out there, I would like to say that I would like to pat myself on the back for at least helping push the narrative of like AEW TNA, because this is the whole point. Like, we want people like Dave comparing the two and like being dismissive, but the fact he's bringing it up and Jericho brings it up and he has to dismiss it. Oh no, not NWA and TNA, not just TNA, but all these other shows. He's bringing them up and like, oh, well, who cares about NWA and fuck TNA and whatever. And now it's forcing them to have the conversation about these other companies versus AEW and shit. And that's when it's game over on their end, because it's like, I don't know. To me, that's the funniest outcome, is just seeing Dave fail. I don't care about if AEW's around forever. I don't care about I just have no faith in it as long as Tony Khan's at the helm and he's phoning Dave on the phone. That happened like a couple weeks ago. We can't let that go. Like Tony's phoning Dave. And Tone was probably listening live to Dave at that moment too. No, I don't know if they go live, but either way though, this person here, Christian Daniel, says the mention of Max without data is delusional. Facts. Truth be told. Dave Meltzer says it's common sense. Streaming viewership skews much younger than television. Max confirmed AEW is one of the top sports on the station. So that was back in May. And then Meltzer says this to Dolly the Sheep, who says, read the roommate and understand what is being said. Dave is just presuming numbers on Max with nothing to base it on apart from common sense. Is this the same common sense Max uses when showing the top sports, etc.? Dave goes, Max has already stated AEW gets among the biggest numbers in sports, Bryan. That's in February, okay? Powerful King JJ says, me laughing at all the sickos in the face that believed 500,000 watched on Max because apparently TNT Sports reported that sports has not made a notable impact on the platform. Well done, sickos. You believed all of the dirt sheets. So Dave takes this personally. The funniest part about this is that he takes this personally. And Dave goes, WBD does not consider pro wrestling a sport. Oh, really?
Stupid idiot.
And this is why you're a fucking fraud. And this is why people don't take you seriously, Dave. This is why people don't take you seriously. It's common sense. Streaming viewership skews much younger. Max has already stated AEW gets among the biggest numbers in sports. Now, the problem with this, Dave, is that you were saying this in 2025, okay? You said these both that it's considered a sport in 2025. Now, as we exposed here on this show, and we covered it on the live show, actually, so a different show, PWT live show every Wednesday and Saturday. Dave Meltzer, okay, he knows that in 2021, HBO Max, or what was it called then? Just Max, whatever. They didn't consider AEW in the sports category anymore, right? This was Switchblade mentioned this, and Dave knows this. So this is like a double bluff we caught him in right here. So early on, when they were like AEW, I think I have Switchblade's thing bookmarked here. I wish I did. I think we covered it on the show, so I took it out, but on PWT live show, that is. I should have re-bookmarked it. But basically, Dave knows that they don't consider it a sport. But when it was convenient for him earlier this year, what the fuck was he saying? Okay? That they consider it a sport. Even though he knows that it's not that. And then when it convenes him, he goes, it's not a sport. You guys know what I'm saying? WBD does not consider pro wrestling a sport. It is listed as entertainment, even if put on the HBO site of sports. If you don't know this, it shows you pay no attention since it's covered every single week, Bryan. Then why the fuck were you saying this in February, in May, that it's considered the highest in sports? Why are you saying that then? Why are you using it when it's convenient for you, Dave? Is it because you're a fucking liar and a shill? Liar! So I should have never played as many based Meltzer flutes. And even when he has base takes, I'm just simply applying conspiratorial motives towards any notion he has that's positive in a way that I find fishy. When it, unless he's condescending people. Like, you just can't ever give him an inch, he takes a mile. You know what I mean? You play one Meltzer flute, and it's like, no, there's ulterior motives, clearly. He was doing that because he knew he was about to have a meltdown, And so he says, this is related. And this is the other problem too. So Dave will put up a million tweets saying, you know, it's considered a sport. It's considered a sport. So then when Dave, what's his excuse for this? That he found this out later than everyone, or that he's a good goddamn liar? That's all it could be. One of those two. Or he's a legitimate fucking lunatic, Delulu, losing his fucking mind, having Alzheimer's, fucking forgetting things, you know? Like there's no other explanation for this. And yeah, I just would love to see what he'd have to say about this, but he'll put out a million tweets claiming shit, and then he'll say, if you don't read the Observer every week, though, then you won't know that I addressed this and explained this all. Why, when I was wrong, I was actually right. And it's like, no, but you're spurging on Twitter, though. That's the problem. You know? So go on Twitter and then say, here's the correction to this tweet that I made where I was being a condescending prick to this guy and took this guy saying dirt sheets, a blanket term. I took it and applied it to myself directly because I'm a fucking mark. So Dave Meltzer says this is related to TNT Sports Properties, which AEW stopped being considered when it was moved to TBS. None of this matters. Tribalist people don't want to deal in facts or reality. So he's saying when AEW stopped being on TNT and was moved to TBS, that's when this happened. Then how come in February and in May you're using this as a talking point? Like we all don't have these fucking tweets, dude. Dave, you're busted.
Liar!
Okay?
Tell us what you know, you goddamn liar!
And so other people had responses to this series of tweets here. So Nicolo Piccolo goes, and now another episode of Only Murders on the timeline. And so he just buries Dave here and just goes off. Zaslav downplays live sports as WBD reports weak results. So again, like here's BJ Bethel. TNT Sports likely has a separate streaming app coming that will be under the Discovery name post-spin. AEW, which they consider a quasi-crossover, is considered entertainment under the WBD umbrella and is HBO Max. Wah, wah. Oh, man. So there's other responses here. So Nicolo Piccolo says, Dave, AEW has moved out of sports in 2021, and Max confirmed AEW is one of the top sports. Can't both be true. That's not on anyone for not knowing the wrestling news. That's on you for arguing with your own timeline. And that's the thing, man. He can't remember all of his own bullshit because he fucking bullshits constantly. So you can never keep up with your own bullshit. Honest Abe once said that, right? You can never keep up with your own bullshit. No? And yeah, people just call Switchblades like I thought AEW wasn't sports. Like everybody pulled this card and responded to it. So Dave Meltzer goes, well, this guy, Wild Blood, says, Dave, then you have to make a phone call to WBD because AEW is still under sports for both TNT and HBO Max at this very moment. Okay? And then Dave goes, we addressed that sometime back. Anyway, here you go. TNT Sports includes broadcast rights for sports like the NHL, NCAA Division I men's basketball, and the college football playoff, Bryan, along with digital properties such as Bleacher Report, House of Highlights, and Hitchacero. The Umbrella brand also covers various international leagues and events in Europe, including partnerships with with the Premier League, UEFA, and the UFC. And then Nicolo Piccolo's like, Dave, you're contradicting your own reporting again. A few months ago, you literally tweeted that wrestling was one of the biggest sports on Max. TNT isn't a locked vault of leagues. Wrestling is programmed live, monetized like a sport. So when you tweet that wrestling isn't under TNT Sports, you're not clarifying anything. Yeah, because he's just a con artist. It's just disgusting at this point. Like, it's just gross. The squabbling and the groveling, man. And so Dave Meltzer goes, just for the record, AEW was listed under sports shows until the end of 2021. At that point, it was designated as entertainment. We've talked about that hundreds of times. If you don't know, that's on you for not knowing the wrestling news. Does he talk about it hundreds of times? That's like a crazy ass thing to claim. Hundreds of times that he's talked about that? I highly doubt it, because why this year then was he using it as a talking point to try and win arguments against fucking sickos on Twitter? Could it be that you're a goddamn shill? So speaking of shilling, man, Meltzer talks about the ratings a little bit here when it comes to Dynamite, and he's like, Dynamite viewership, look at this headline, or whoever wrote this, you're a dipshit, 18 to 49 demo sees week-to-week increase. And it's like, what, dude? It did a record low on not Halloween. When was it? It was like the Wednesday before this would be for, right? Or would that be the Wednesday after? I don't know, man. Yeah, I think it would be the one after. So it's like, it's not I don't know. Just the wording of it. He wouldn't word it that way for WWE, to do the what about even TNA, because he can't help but shit all over TNA. And dude, he's shaking in his boots because Jericho brought up TNA and said that it looked cooler than AEW. And so Dave's just doom and glooming about it. And that's why I don't trust Dave. I think Jericho's going to swerve everyone and stay in goddamn AEW, because Dave's too confident that he's leaving, but the 18 to 49 demo sees week to week increase. And it's like, in what way? Because the World Series is over, whatever the fuck. And you're like, what about year over year, bro? It's terrible. That number's terrible. And so, speaking of terrible, Dave Meltzer, he gives his thoughts on. Here, let me just look quickly before I go in. Okay, so Bryan Alvarez, where should we start? How do I start this chunk here? Because this is the debate of, well, first, yeah, let's start with this walkout stuff, okay? This Nixon Newell, because listen, I've covered it extensively. I've had all the updates the last few days. And I'm tired of talking about it, but Dave Meltzer and Bryan Alvarez, I would love to hear their takes on what happened there, the debacle that was Miranda Alizé and Nixon Newell. And so for those of you unfamiliar, Nixon Newell, FKA Tegan Knox, and Miranda Alizé, who, the dirt sheets were like, oh, they're the first lesbian couple in AEW, and they're breaking down boundaries and stuff in AEW and AEW rules, right? All of a sudden, a million stories, and I'm tired of talking about this shit. All of a sudden, a million stories come out that Nixon Newell walked out, and there's heat with Megan Bain, and Daniel Bryan fucking talked to them and dressed them down, and her wife fucking took off, and they're drunks, and blah, 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 okay? And it turns out Nixon Newell's like, there was no heat. We were told we could go home. We never spoke to Bryan. Bryan, that's another update that I'm not sure if we talked about on the live show or not. But basically what happened was Megan Bain's name, that she was thrown in there again in controversy again whenever there's outsiders or people perceived to be so. Megan Bain's name is somewhere lurking and looming around, and she had heat with them over a botched spot, and I guess they didn't want to be used for 3 minutes, and a bunch of wrestlers chimed in from all over the wrestling world, from WWE to the UK scene to fucking AEW. We got the rah-rah speeches and everyone like, oh, I'd kill for that 3 minutes, And so it's just funny how whenever something bad happens in AEW, you always hear from one side, there's terrible communication. And we know, like, Andrade just happened, where he shows up, beats up Kenny Omega. The lawyers didn't even like look over his deal or anything. Like they didn't know he wasn't allowed to be on your television. Just it's a shit show over there. Devon's story comes out. He's like, I'll fight QT Marshall, and fucking Tony Khan made me wait till 3 a.m. from 11 a.m. And then they talk shit that I was sleeping before the meeting. Like he had me there till 3 a.m. that asshole or whatever. And we hear these stories of just like, yeah, terrible management, communication. So this is another one of those. I'd fucking fire them too. Like, you don't walk out. I don't care. If it's 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, like you would never work for my company again. Right? That's my take on it. But at the same time, like, yeah, you don't go there. If you don't want to deal with stress, don't go to that fucking place. Because sometimes the money ain't worth it, you know? For some guys like Edge who just, oh, yeah, I just come and go as I please, you know? I'm Aries. I just come and go, you know? Like, it's cool for him. He's getting millions of dollars to fucking go be on other TV shows than the one to go be in, like, movies and shit that isn't the television program that he's being paid millions of dollars to be on. But either way, they walk out. All these stories just come out about them. I find it funny how all these stories trashing them. It never ceases to amaze me that every single time, and Fightful just straight up stooged it. They were like a bunch of girls backstage came to us with stories telling us how they would kill for the 3 minutes even on Collision. So there's a bunch of stooges back there. They're all running to the sheets to fucking tell them everything, to bury these girls before they even get home from their fucking car ride home or their plane ride home. You know, they're already buried on the net. Then they have to do a Twitch stream being like, yeah, none of this happened or this did happen and whatever. And so here's what Bryan and Dave Meltzer have to say about this situation.
Bryan.
Let's take a listen here.
Miranda Alizé and Nixon Newell were scheduled to have a match on the show. And
with Anna Jay and Ty Mello.
Showed up at the building and decided... we don't want to do a short match. And they left.
Yeah, I do not expect these two to be booked in AEW. I mean, who knows? But
so hold on.
They don't want to do a short match.
Hold on. What?
And they left.
Yeah, I do not expect these two to be booked in AEW.
No shit. And you know, Tony texted you telling you they wouldn't be.
I mean, who knows? But
who knows? It's not that the fucking guy who owns the company calls me on the phone live on this show. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? Terrible poker
Twitch stream. They said, we decided collectively as a partnership, a couple as wrestlers independently, that 3 minutes isn't going to benefit no one in this match. And then Newell said,
hey, they're allowed to do that as independent contractors. Well, I mean, they're independent contractors. I mean, there's independent contractor bullshit. Oh, so you want them to be employees then? Okay.
Repeatedly that there was, quote, no...
I thought that was evil fed when they treated them like employees. Well, they should unionize and get treated like employees. Okay. Or I thought you guys all rah-rah for they're supposed to be independent contractors. So which is it? You know, it's always like people just pick and choose what side of that argument when it is beneficial.
Bad blood on either side.
I can tell you that that's not true.
Oh, I can tell you. Let me tell you something. I heard from a lot of people. And what was amazing was I was hearing from people as the show was going on. So people weren't even waiting until the show was over. And, I mean, maybe Tony told them there was no hard feelings, but I can tell you one.
So they're just sitting here going, hey, the whole AEW locker room just runs and fucking stooges to all the sheets. Fightful said the same thing. A bunch of girls reach out to us. The whole locker room's back there just stooging everyone's biz, hot gossing, spilling tea, being messy, right? Just fucking can't wait. I just can't wait to stooge to Dave Meltzer. You know what I'm saying? I might have went a little under the sea there on that. But you guys know what I'm saying, okay? They just can't wait to fucking stooge and usurp the throne from those perceived it. Oh, why are you bringing them in? You know why? It's because there's a bunch of disgruntled motherfuckers back there feeling entitled because they're getting paid, and they show up to TV every week, and then you bring these two girls in, and you only brought Miranda, let's be honest, Miranda got booked because you're bringing Tegan Nox in, and you only bringing Tegan Nox in because she was in WWE before. And there's a bunch of girls back there like, why are you bringing more people in? That's a problem with Tony. That's a problem with Tone. Why you run into the fucking to Meltzer and Alvarez, these fucking stooges, and telling them this shit and then shitting on them? Oh, they left. Can you believe it? And then they use 2 fucking jobbers no one's heard of to replace them instead of the girls who were back there complaining. Did you complain about those girls after? Did you complain about those girls after, ladies? What about I heard from numerous people. Oh, did you, Bryan?
Thing. There was a
Did you,
hard
Bryan?
feelings is the wrong word. Bad blood. I don't know how you would term it, but there were so many people that were like, what a stupid thing to do. That's the one thing I heard over and over. What a stupid thing to do.
They did not refuse to lose. They wanted to have a competitive 10-minute match, and the show was laid out, and, you know, they didn't have 10 minutes for them, and that was that.
Nixon did say in the Twitch stream, this is my last 2 years in wrestling, and I want to have fun this last year. It is what it is. So basically, she's got one foot out the door. So
yeah,
it's not like she's looking to have a 20-year career and she decided to walk out on AEW after she was released from WWE. This is her last year, she says.
All right. So she's not going to tolerate bullshit. Why can't they ever just go, yeah, I mean, it's bullshit. There's communication issues on their end of it. All they do is just point out, well, she's not even a real wrestler. Fuck her. You know? So this goes on. Here, let's listen to this clip. This may be what we just listened to. I think this is more of like a longer version of what Dave was saying.
All I know is I do not expect these two to be booked in AEW. I mean, who knows? But
so on their Twitch stream, there was, quote, no, you'd term it, but there were so many people that were like, what a stupid thing to do.
I mean, first get over.
Okay, here we go.
You know, they're not under contract.
If they're not under, you know they're not, Dave. You know how it works in AEW. You know how Tone does these deals. You know that nobody's under contract until they get that graphic.
You want to, if you want to do something there, you know, I mean, first get over. I mean, it's like,
oh, come on, you fucking Muppets. It's funny because Dave is like the sicko Mind Flare or like sicko Vecna. And then all the sickos are like, Tegan Nox would cook it up. Can't believe they fumbled Tegan Nox. Now she's going to cook on the indies. She's going to cook in AEW. And then now it's like, first get over. Bro, no one's over in AEW. There's like 3 over people. Okay? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
There's people who do stuff because they have leverage so they can get away with doing it. I mean, they had no leverage. Look,
what was the leverage? They had no leverage. They walked the fuck out, didn't they? Like, what leverage? What other leverage do they need? They don't work there.
If they don't want,
they didn't try to hold the place hostage. They just said, we don't want to do this. And then listen to Dave. If they don't want to do it, I mean, the best guy.
Get away with doing it. I mean, they had no leverage. Look, if they don't want to be on TV, more power to them.
The best guy is Tony Khan.
Okay, so we move along here, and was that the last? Yeah, so one of the things that went down at Blood and Guts, well, we'll circle back to Blood and Guts because, you know, Dave, he melts down a little bit because Jericho, and he's forced to compare WWE. Like, I know that he tries to compare Triple H to Tony Khan booking wise, which we're about to get into. But one thing that happened was Jericho said that, you know, Bound for Glory looked like the number 2 promotion. And what Jericho was saying is he was like, at least at that moment in time, it looked like the number 2 promotion. But it is slowly becoming the number 2 promotion. And Dave, of course, extrapolates this into some big conspiracy. So through my Dave studies, I've learned that Jericho is, he's friendly to the observer, and he's never, he stooges through little birdies is like what I've heard. That's a conspiracy. This is South Park. I'm just making this up, but I've heard that like Jericho isn't a guy who picks up the phone and calls Dave, but he's the type of guy who maybe says something to someone he knows will pick up the phone and call Dave. You know what I'm saying? And he's very, and not just in that aspect when it comes to Meltzer, right? He's indelibly calculated and political when it comes to, how to get himself over. And there's nothing, he's playing the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game, I guess, right? But it's the same thing with him, like at that time yelling to Punk, "You're a cancer." Apparently he's like, Jericho yelled, "You're a cancer" to Punk because that got him over. Like he knows what the fuck he's doing, man. And he knows what he's always known. People tell the stories in shoot interviews. I'm not backstage. I'm just, I guess, regurgitating what they've all said. I've never seen it firsthand, but if we're to believe all the stories and sort of how we can clearly see in AEW, he got away with whatever the fuck he wanted. Why? Because there's no resistance with Tony. As long as if you're over and you make Tony Khan think it's his idea or something's a good idea or it'll get over, he just trusts Jericho no matter what. There's no filter there to be like, whoa, hold up. You got a lot of ideas here, Jericho. Maybe here's the one or two good ones, and here's a great mind like Shawn Michaels. Go and make magic, right? Here you're feuding with like Punk or whatever. You got to make some magic happen over here. You guys have to put your heads together. So Jericho, Dave extrapolates this as like Jericho's sending a farewell. Now, I have a conspiracy theory why I played the X-Files before. I'm going to pull a Meltzer here, but this is one of two things. Jericho's gone, which I just have a feeling like when you stack up all the benefits of him going back to WWE for him, I'm like, I can totally imagine it. The benefits of staying in an AEW, none other than Tony Khan just throws astronomical money at you. Just like ungodly money where you're like, well, fuck it, like whatever. Which is, that's pardon me, that's what Husey says. Like Husey thinks that's what's going to happen. He stays in AEW for just boatloads of money, right? But he's already been there and done that. And I think the benefits for, Jericho likes fame. He likes relevancy. That's why he's talking to the Dudleys and the Hardys and putting TNA over and getting shredded again. And took a break from AEW. They're yelling, "Please retire" at him. He doesn't like that. He does, as Conan said, he doesn't want to get stopped in airports and asked, when's he coming back to wrestling? You know what I mean? He wants Lex, when's he coming back to wrestling? Me neither, dude. Hopefully the Rumble. But I could see Dave, since he's friendly with Jericho, he's floating this out there too, because he thinks he's going to help work the marks, Brian. No, is that too deep? Am I overanalyzing that? Is that too conspiratorial? Is Dave like working with Jericho via like trying to help get this idea of he's leaving over so that a bunch of people get worked by it, or what? I don't know. I'm not sure, but what I do know is that Jericho said that TNA Bound for Glory looked like the number 2 promotion, and it had the vibes of the number 2 promotion, and slowly it will become the number 2 promotion if this TV deal works out, and hopefully they don't lose steam. I was hoping they'd announce that by now, but here's Dave Meltzer's reaction to Jericho saying that TNA is number 2, or looked like number 2, at least in that moment.
Chris Jericho on his podcast did a long speech about TNA. He had watched Bound for Glory. Said that TNA on that show looked like the second biggest company in the world.
Arena Mexico 3 times a week looks better than that. Louder than.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Can we please listen to the cope in his voice? He's quivering, buddy. He's like, "Oh, I mean, it looks. Oh, CMLL looks better than that." Listen
about
to this.
TNA.
Oh.
He watched Bound for Glory. Said that TNA on that show looked like the second biggest company in the world.
Arena Mexico 3 times a week looks better than that.
Oh, he sounds like a girl who got broke up with. And I'm way prettier. My tits are bigger than hers, and you're way hotter than that. Oh my God. Let's listen to that one more time. Listen to the fucking cope and the trembling in his voice. Mexico looks better. Okay, he's talking about AEW, the number 2 promotion in America. Okay, American-based promotion. What is number 1? Okay, it's Canadian-based if you want to be technical about it with TNA, but the number 2 promotion, TNA, WWE, AEW, that's the conversation you want to. But in Japan, Brian, his lips quivering.
So the TNA on that show looked like the second biggest
He's
company in
felt
the
it
world.
right here.
Arena Mexico 3 times a week looks better than that, louder than that. You know what I mean?
Oh
like
my!
Arena Coliseo looks, is basically not quite as big a crowd as they had for Bound for Glory, but not far off. And it's a louder crowd.
And it's louder. Oh, what a cope. It's loud.
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth it is scalding, and now you are molding and coping so hard. Coping and seething.
Man, plus they hand out tickets for the Arena Mexico shows. They're free.
Oh, I mean,
that's what JJ's saying here in chat. Okay, and he always stresses that to me as well, like every time we discuss the topic, and so that needs to be noted. Okay,
AAA, Triple Mania, the One Day Librera shows, they're hotter. It's New Japan Tokyo Dome. Come on, AEW, every pay-per-view looks as hot as that. Well, I wonder what his motive is.
I think his motive is he's going to WWE.
Very well may. At best, they look like the number 5 promotion in the world.
At best, the number 5 promotion in the world. So now Dave is just burying fucking Jericho.
Stupid idiot.
Because he's butt hurt. Because Jericho said TNA's number 2 and Tony Khan is fucking Dave's son, so he can't handle it.
It's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Oh man, it's so funny.
Glory. I can't see. Although they did look better than AEW when they were at the 2300 arena. I mean, that's true. But whatever. I mean, Chris is a smart guy, and I'm sure he's got his game plan, and I'm not sure I know fully what it is, but basically it got a lot of people talking. It was interesting. It felt, when I first heard it, it felt like he was giving notice to AEW, but I don't know if that's the case because I don't know what he's thinking right now.
The problem is that I think Dave's lying, and I think he knows what Jericho's thinking, and I think Jericho is going. I'm leaning more towards he's going to end up staying in AEW for boatloads of money. I'm not joking, because the rumors are as well that Edge and Christian may have signed again big deals. MVP just did as well. It's like he's kind of signing these legends to, I want you to help get the next generation over, that sort of thing. So I'm kind of leaning that way now because I think Dave's bullshitting. I don't know what he's thinking, but he's got a plan. But I mean, I'm pretty much stooging what it is. But without stooging what it is. That's the vibe I get from Dave.
Chris Jericho on his podcast.
But I don't know, man. If Jericho's smart, he returns to WWE. Let's just be honest about that. So here we go. Here's another clip of them talking about Jericho putting over, or this might be the same clip. Did they double post it?
We had Jericho on his podcast putting over TNA, which of course has everybody talking.
Or is this just Brian?
What an interesting.
Yeah, it's just Trying Brian here. Let's hear what Filthy Tom Lawler and Trying Brian
he made there.
I was so impressed with Bound for Glory, he said. He was so impressed. That crowd looked huge. was a WWE level crowd. Place was packed. I was watching this, not saying anything out of school here, but comparing it to watching Dynamite.
And here's my problem too. So now you guys are about you motherfuckers who glaze Jericho, just glaze him when he's being Lionheart again and marking out for his old gimmicks and doing dinner debonair and doing mimosa matches and shit. He's a genius. He can get anything over. A little bit of the bubbly, Bryan. You're just fucking glazing him. Now all of a sudden, Bryan and Meltzer know more about pro wrestling than fucking Jericho when he's assessing what he saw at Bound for Glory. It's like, fuck you.
When we were at the ECW arena, which looked like a Tony Condello taping. Wow.
That was the comment that I was like, what? You could have just left it at putting over TNA, but bringing up the ECW arena tapings and burying them,
comparing it to
deeper
a Tony
than a
Condello
Philly
taping.
mobster. Ugh.
I howled at that one. So anyway, yeah, I don't think he's long for AEW, or he's working everybody, and they've got a new deal, and he's going to debut tonight. We had Jericho
tonight. Do you see that? Because this Time Cop, I think this was on the day of Blood and Guts, and everyone anticipated as well, or like in the sicko spheres, right? People were like, someone's going to debut or like return or whatever the fuck. I think I want Jericho to be out of there so bad, but when Dave's like, I don't know, he could be working. It's like, okay, we know Tony's phoning him. Like, is Husey accurate about his fucking assessment? I don't know. And Lex doesn't know either. But speaking of not knowing shit, Bryan Alvarez goes off. Typically, Bryan is trying and crying and lying. At least in this instance, he is crying about AEW. I don't think he's with Dave, though. He always does it when Dave's not there. He goes off on these, like every now and again, he'll give us one where he snaps, but then it always turns into Dave just going, Bryan, no, but Bryan, right? No, but in WWE, it's all about drawing money, Bryan. It's about nothing else. Like he always does some shit like that and interrupts Bryan and doesn't let him melt down. So Bryan at least melts down here in front of maybe Dave sitting here, but I think it's just Filthy Tom Lawler again, who gives him the space. I'll never shit on Filthy Tom Lawler. I'm a big fan of his both MMA and pro wrestling careers. And so him and Lance Storm give Bryan the chance to at least vent about this ridiculousness.
Here's the thing. When this was announced yesterday, was there anybody that was like, thank God we're getting a new title? Was there one person anywhere, even hardcore AEW fans, did anyone go, thank God we got a new belt?
Probably some of the lower tiered roster members.
Well, was there?
That's a great point. And also, yes, dude, there's sickos, at least on Twitter.
Any fan,
and you know who they are, Bri, because they're the guys you don't block.
And who was clamoring for a brand new belt? The answer is no.
Yes, some of the lower tiered roster members.
Now, what I saw yesterday, and this is from AEW fans, so don't get mad at me. This is from AEW fans. I saw two reactions to this title yesterday, okay? The first one was people said, when I saw this, I thought it was a meme. I thought it was a joke. They actually thought that it was like some silly thing, that there really wasn't going to be another title. And then like the real hardcores, the best I saw from the real hardcores was people that went, I mean, it doesn't bother me.
No, Alvarez, this is like, go look at Drain Bamager. Drain Bamager posted the funny shit. He was like slingshot. Willow hit a slingshot alley-oop bomb into the cage, and that's what busted Sky Blue open. Fire emoji. Like unironically. And it's like, what's fire about that? I don't get it. Like, you had to go back and like scan through the tape of what happened, because that move wasn't fire and wasn't memorable when all was said and done. So much shit happened, you forget that even fucking happened. People forgot even where she got busted open. And yeah, like when you look at sickos like that, and there's wackos who do that too. When like TKO announces $58 billion deal with Saudi Arabia, you get a bunch of wackos who go, fucking fire, like new, levels, new deal, blah, blah. It's like, who cares? I don't give a shit. What does that do? It just makes the tickets more expensive for me. So yes, there are sickos who put both shits over. And when you pick a lane like that, when you stan or hate super hard one way or the other, those accounts all get like 20 fucking K followers and shit. Like some of these accounts are fucking huge. And all they do is just like, oh man, new belt, casino gauntlet again, flame and shit,
That's your reaction.
No real
It
taste,
doesn't
just bot
bother
taste.
you. That means you don't care. That means
right. And Bryan coming to the conclusion that I came to so long ago, that I've tried to explain so much on PWT live show every Wednesday and Saturday, and Dave Meltzer Dumb Moment of the Week, like, you don't actually care then, do you? And most of them will admit that. These sickos on Twitter, if Bryan actually engaged with these folks and didn't just look at them as marks, and that's why he's doing 50% fucking fire sales, he would realize, and if it wasn't just fake Wrestling Observer polls, 30%, he would realize that they don't care. Most of them will admit, like, if AEW goes away, there'll be another promotion. I don't care if they do bad business. I just really like it, and I think they're putting on the bet. And it's like, okay, so then just go look up, like, move highlights. Like, what the fuck is this? If you don't care, then don't. What? Like, then, you can't preach enjoy all wrestling and then just be like, well, if it dies, I don't care. It fucking whatever. I thought the whole idea was like, support everyone. They're good for the business because people are getting paid. But even they'll say it, like, if it goes out of business, it makes no difference to them. Okay, why cater to those people? Right? Like, cater to the people who want more AEW and want to see it actually grow and do good things. I mean, people have been going over this for years. It's getting repetitive and silly.
we're adding a new title that you don't care about.
They don't. They
We don't
care
need
about any
another
of
title that you don't care about.
Monet's got 12 of them. Monet's got fucking 12 of them. And so, again, at least Bryan's willing to cause that shit out. Call that shit out. Right? But at what point is it too little too late? Speaking of too little too late, Dave Meltzer talks about, the big data plus panel, and how he talks a little bit about the WBD deal, and he says this is the biggest story of the year. Meanwhile, he's not covering it. He's not covering it accurately. He's not covering it fairly. He's not going as in depth as people like Switchblade or Nicolo Piccolo do just on Twitter when they read these articles and actually dissect this shit. And if Dave were, he would understand that this shit's blowing up in his face and just proved him wrong entirely about all the shit he's been talking forever. So here's just a quick clip on him. This is the biggest story of the year. But yet he'll spend more time talking about, and he'll take more clips of him talking about deliberating between Triple H or Tony Khan for Booker of the Year, like it's even up for discussion.
It's how Nielsen is doing this now, and that's not going to change. I mean, really, when it comes to the wrestling business, that's one of the biggest business stories of the year. And for long term, it's just huge, because this is a business that relies on that revenue more than anything else, far more than anything else.
So then you're wrong. And when BJ Bethel lies about the numbers, so it does no help to lie about that, Dave, and pretend, it's going to hurt them huge, but I mean, there's millions watching on Max. Like, what do you say then? All the metrics are trending downwards over the years. Slowly. Down. WWE has 1 week where they sell 4,000 tickets. I mean, the peak period's over. You guys are going to hear Dave say that. The peak period's over for WWE. He's going to say that in another clip I got for you. The peak is done. What the fuck? SmackDown's back selling 10,000 tickets. The holiday tour's clearing 6,000 tickets and shit for some of these shows, more than AEW's next pay-per-view. Why even put these logos next to each other, dude? One is an indie that's on television right now.
So, you know, I mean, and, you know, the one good thing is they signed those deals last year, because if the way the deals had come, if these deals would have been being negotiated in 2 months instead of a year ago, it would hurt WWE as well.
You fucking clown. I mean, WWE, AEW would be fucked, right? It's a good thing because why? Because their ratings are way down and it's not a hot product. And I don't even like calling it a hot product. I don't like that. You know, it's just not good all around. And meanwhile, we just get told by people that WWE's evil. And we look at them and we're like, they're not really doing anything evil. And then we get told how great AEW is and it's the best wrestling. And if you're a smart fan, then you love AEW. And,
Poor people don't like AEW.
And it's like, then shut the fuck up. Just say this. Don't bring up WWE. Don't put WWE's logo here. Just talk about how AEW, their ratings are fucked and their TV, they could still get canceled off TV. It's fucking TV, bro. What happens if Netflix buys WBD and then they own that 5% of AEW? Or how the fuck is that going to work? Right? Like, what happens there? What do you think's going to happen? Like, Dave is clueless, man.
But it would greatly hurt AEW. It's how Neil.
And again, he's just like, oh, it's a good thing those deals were negotiated then. Yeah, you're goddamn right they were. And so speaking of WWE, as I mentioned before, Dave is like, the peak of WWE's over. Triple H can't book. And he's just pushing this narrative because at the end of the year, he wants to give Tony Khan Booker of the Year again. He's been waiting to do it. When has Tony Khan won Booker of the Year? We know in Dave's heart and soul it's every year. Okay, but what years did Tony Khan win Wrestling Observer Booker of the Year award? And again, we're asking Grok, so if it fucks up, then 2020, 2021, and 2022. I mean, arguably, sure, maybe like the first 2 years, but again, like how much of that is Cody Rhodes and shit? So he three-peated, and then Dave is now wants to push this narrative, and even the Observer readers understand it's Triple H, because according to Dave, it's just about drawing money, Brian, at the end of the day. Pro wrestling business is all about drawing money. But then meanwhile, they're not drawing any money. They're losing tons of money. Remember Dave was like, oh, all that money coming in every week. It's like, now he doesn't say that shit. Why? Because that shit blew up in his face and they're getting fucking sued and he's a dummy. And they don't have money. They're losing fucking money every week. And he's sitting there pretending that they're making money every single week, and they're fucking not, and it's blowing up in their face. In all of their faces. Just like Dave doesn't say, including the max numbers, because he knows that his card's about to get pulled on that shit as WBD becomes more transparent with Nielsen data, etc. And Dave also discredited all this other... People were like, this number reported whatever. And he's like, well, I can't remember the names of these things. That's a PS Vista. They use sonar to track. I can't remember the names of these companies, right? But Dave's like discrediting certain, and he's like, go with Nielsen. Meanwhile, Nielsen and WBD are like working together, and over the next year, they're going to be more transparent. That shit's all going to blow up in his fucking face. And he knows it. But with so what he's trying to do is go back to his old games, okay? Because you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And Dave is just going back to, well, we can just lie in our magazine and say that there's no way Triple H was Booker of the Year and Tony Khan was Booker of the Year. That's how we'll make this the better company again. And so he's saying WWE's peak is over. Why? Because Halloween happened and the World Series happened, and they sold a couple bad houses for SmackDown, which weren't even really that bad because they were like 4,000 to 6,000 people, and now it's turning right around instantly? Or are you just bullshitting, Dave?
The peak is over, without a doubt. A lot of the peak
is
in
over.
the sense of this year, I think.
Peak. What the fuck does that even mean? So when did AEW's peak end? Why are you saying it's the best wrestling ever? It's funny, too, because Dave's like, well, the thing that people say is the best isn't always the best thing. It doesn't sell the most. And it's like, okay, but you say this is the worst. And then you say that other thing's the best and it's selling the least. So why can't that apply? The thing that people say isn't the best sells the least. You know what I mean? Stop your fucking mental gymnastics. Just shoot straight.
I think it might have
Shark
stopped
brain
a little
monster
earlier if it wasn't for Cena. And if Cena's really gone, and I think he probably is, next year I don't expect, it's going to be instant sellouts unless you're talking about, SummerSlam and Mania and all them. They'll do well for years.
So again, it's like, so Raw's still selling every show, 13,000, 12,000 every show, 16,000 every Raw, dude. Cena's dates are all announced. So they're not, because when Cena's gone, so all these other Raws that are doing 13,000 people and Post Malone's in the front row and there's no Cena, what about those shows? It just doesn't even make sense. This is cope, bro.
Years.
Don't make me play the fucking song again.
But the rank and file stuff, I think it's going to be a little bit down, and AEW is still the same. It's not. There's no sign
AEW is still the
AEW
same,
either,
but just like 100% less people showing up to every show. They're getting outdrawn by like 12,000 people. Raw will do like 14K. Dynamite will do like 2K. Same with AEW. He just always has to compare the two. No, it's TNA and AEW, and that's it.
Numbers. So it's just that. And then, the TV numbers, the Monday Raw, which went against football in the World Series, was the second lowest that they've ever done. Collision was tied the lowest that they've ever done in 18 to 49s. SmackDown was the lowest that they've ever done on USA across the board in pretty much everywhere in every category. Dynamite did a low number against the World Series. NXT on Tuesday was not against the World Series and still did a low number, although you could say maybe that's election day. And it
Dave said that there was a good movie on the Free Flow channel when it came to AEW one time. But election day, it was probably that. If it was AEW, you'd be like, everyone was watching the election, Bryan. Holy shit, man. Restore the feeling in your scalp,
although you could say
buddy.
Maybe that's election day. And it probably was, honestly. That's probably fair to say. So there's still that reason, but these numbers are still, in the last week, are very low.
Yeah, especially for AEW.
The peak is over.
And they were not that bad for WWE in comparison, and then they just bounced right back. Meanwhile, AEW hasn't bounced back to 600K. SmackDown had 200K more people tuned back in. Okay? Glaze Meltzer needs to address that there was no 200K that magically reappeared for AEW. So speaking of who's the better booker, man, I've been teasing it all night, and then we have his glaze of blood and glaze and guts, I guess, right? Triple H and Tony Khan have two different booking philosophies. So let's hear Tryin' Bryan and old Dusty Dave break down the differences between Triple H's and Tony Khan's booking philosophies.
So Triple H said, I don't book to have great matches. I book to have great storyline.
Right, because I'm just going to own everything, whatever these assholes are going to say right here before I can even get 10 seconds through this clip. Right. His job is to book. He can't go out there and wrestle for them. His job is to book great storylines. And then the wrestlers go out there and it's their job to have great matches. You can't book great matches. That's what we learned about Tony Khan. Anybody can take Universe 2K Universe mode, and I can put Umaga versus Yokozuna, and oh my God, what a match, and 5 stars. Anybody can do that shit. Could you imagine? Oh, if Kyle O'Reilly versus Moxley. We were supposed to see it on the main roster of SmackDown. Anyone can do shit like that. Anybody can match make. Well, that used to be the cope too. Tony Khan's a great matchmaker. What the fuck? What does that mean, dude? The matches make themselves if everything else is in order. Okay? A lot of the time. And there's bookers who see 2 guys. Oh, we can draw money with the both of them. But it's not by just, okay, we just put them in the ring. It's fucking, how do we get them in the ring to where they want to see this guy's head get ripped off and they want to see this guy rip this guy's head off. Jesus fucking Christ, guys. How is this so hard to understand? How come I study the business better than you fucking clowns? I don't get it. And Bryan's about to cope. He doesn't book for good matches, or maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But if anybody thinks what Triple H is saying is stupid, you're fucking dumb. He's not wrestling for them. He books good storylines, great storylines, and then the wrestlers go and have good matches and have great promos and do their part. That's where they have to take the ball. Like, hey, we talked about it earlier. You can write a fucking movie, cast the wrong people, they fuck it up. Just like you can have a shitty movie that's poorly written and maybe the directing isn't that great, but the cast is like fucking so good that they pull this thing together, or it becomes like a cult hit or something like that. Right? But it's a two-way street, or like both. It's they both need to do their jobs. Triple H's job isn't to be a wrestler. And you guys think like, well, putting 2 matches, I mean, well, shit, on the indies, they put Cardona against Cross. Yeah, and even they're cutting promos online and trying to tell a story online. Even they're doing that because that's what you have to do to get people invested, dude.
Okay.
When you have confidence in your locker room, all of the matches will be good.
Boom. Lance Storm just succinctly said it right there.
Regardless which ones you book. So he's saying he's booking. The focus is for the story, trusting that they will actually be still good matches.
Yes. The other way to book is to look at your roster and go,
is he about to bury Tony Khan? I can't wait. Thank God he has this show. So here's the thing. When Bryan eventually takes over the keys to the kingdom over there at Observer and they're doing 75% off sales, does he shoot straight and like bury, or does he just bury both shit? Like, do you guys think that he will still bury NXT and then bury AEW like the way he does? Or do you think, but here's the thing. He's still white knights for AEW and he white knights for the Fed bad shit, which he doesn't get a pass for. Even when here's the thing, because last week I got slapped in the face with Dave getting all the bass Meltzer flutes. So even when on this show, I'm giving Bryan effort or I'm playing a bass Meltzer flute, there's still chuckle fucks. Okay. Just always remember that. All right. That's all I need.
I got 2 awesome guys. I got Takeshita and I got Okada. Therefore, I'm going to book a storyline that results in them having an incredible match. Okay.
Right. But here's the problem with that. The people who can do the storyline and then do the match, those are 2 different things. And sometimes you need a Jey Uso who might not be the best wrestler. You can't always take Takeshita and Okada and go, they're similar. Aren't they similar? Oh my God, they're similar. He's like the future Okada. Give them a great storyline. You can just wipe your ass and there's a storyline. Some people don't have chemistry. Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan were the 2 greatest of all time. They didn't have the greatest storyline in conclusion because what you're trying to do is go at the end and work your way backwards, which doesn't always work. And it doesn't, I mean, you can have an endpoint. I want to get to these 2 wrestling each other eventually. Okay. And WWE, I'm sure, does that too. I'm sure they're like, okay, we want to have Like Orton versus Cody Rhodes at fucking WrestleMania 42 or 43 or whatever the fuck. We want to have that match. We need to get there. And then you address the variables throughout, the uncontrolled variables throughout the year or whatever. The problem is that Tony Khan, all he does, you have to have a mixture of both, bro, is the point I'm getting at. You can't just do it one way. You can't just only go, well, Moxley and Garcia would be a good match. No, it wouldn't. And that's the problem too. A good match is who the fuck is over. Okay, Hulk Hogan and The Rock, one of the greatest matches ever, WrestleMania 18, the greatest match ever. Why? Because they were both so fucking over. They could have done half the shit they did, and it still would have worked and been insane. And why? Because the people cared, and their body of work and the stories they told leading up, what that moment meant. For instance, AJ Styles and Cena, the same thing. Now we're using like the legends of legends, like the peak of the peak legends. So when you don't, like, you can just put people in the ring and go, we want to get to this matchup, right? But when it's like Osprey and fucking Fletcher, why would anyone care about them? They've done nothing like legendary on TV that's noteworthy, that people know en masse, that like the casuals know. The casuals know The Rock and Cena fought at Main. You know, the casuals know Hogan fought Rock, or Hogan slammed Andre, or whatever the fuck. And if you want to take it back all the way, and I know even WWE, like the casuals, well, I think it's become more casual. That's obvious by the amount of fucking tickets they're selling. I mean, that's, who else is buying these but casuals on top of big time wrestling fans? But the point I'm making here is you can't, like, Alvarez goes, that's one way of booking. Okay, I guarantee you that Triple H looks at Raw some weeks and goes, okay, Penta, or okay, for this is the perfect example. Sami Zayn, you go out there and cook with Black. Next week, you're going to go cook with Rey Fenix. Next week, you're going to go cook with John Cena for the U.S. title. So you do that. That's one element of the show. Can't be the whole show that way, though. And sometimes when you write storylines, the big match isn't in, oh, well, these guys will have the biggest match. Like sometimes the majority of the time, the best payoffs come from telling the story properly and getting the people who can take that story there. That's a huge part of it. Like, does Bryan Alvarez really think that you could, well, maybe he does. Maybe he agrees with me in this clip and I'm just jumping ahead, but just for anybody who thinks, and because Dave Meltzer, and this is Dave Meltzer dumb moment of the week, and he fucking says this all the time, like you could just plug anyone in there. WWE could plug anybody into this machine. Anyone could have been Stone Cold. Anyone could have been Hulk Hogan. He has that attitude. And it's like, no, bro. Do you, like, if you plugged Brutus the Barber Beefcake into Roddy Piper's storylines that he had with Hogan, would it have worked? Fuck no. And that's a huge part of it, that just matchmaking can't get, like, doesn't provide, you know, just matchmaking. You might have you could have the best story in the world, but if you don't cast the right people, then the match ultimately doesn't matter, because if they don't get the fucking story over, then how's the match going to get over? And even in the Sami Zayn US title thing, they establish, well, it's a unique opportunity where he's having an open challenge. We don't do that all the time in WWE. There's not open challenges all the time in WWE. They're doing a lot more title switches now. But anyways, let's hear what Bryan has to say.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with either. Okay. Obviously, Tony will put together like a bunch of great matches for a pay-per-view and book backwards so that he gets to these fantastic matches. Okay. And I don't even think he always does that. I mean, it's the same thing. He's just going to have great matches. There's so many guys. But Triple H is not looking at the roster and going,
I just hate how the insinuation is that people aren't having great matches in WWE. Have you been watching WWE? Do you know what people enjoy, what the masses think is good wrestling? It's fucking nuts.
You know, it'd be a fan.
And if this, it's supply and demand again. So if this was the snooty, great, awesome, poor people don't like AEW,
you know,
wrestling.
poor people don't like AEW.
If that was the God's honest truth, then Tony Khan would be charging a premium and hosting these small elitist hoity-toity snooty. But instead, you got Paul Walter Hauser out there saying, WWE's ticket prices are going to make it an elitist snooty thing. And it's like, oh, you mean like AEW did? And their tickets are fucking dwindling. You can't. It's entertainment. The best entertainment garners the widest audience. It's just that fucking simple.
Fantastic match. Rey Mysterio Jr. and Phoenix. Therefore, I am going to book backwards from there to put a
the best marketed shit too. People go, oh, well, they have the most marketing. They have more marketing. More marketing doesn't mean shit. Tron had tons of marketing. Fucking bombed again. Because people don't give a fuck about Jared Leto anymore, and they don't care about Tron for the 1,000th fucking time. Third time or second time or whatever now. Third time, I think, right? They don't give a fuck. Doesn't matter how much marketing, but marketing's part of the art. Like if the trailers aren't slapping, if they don't hook you with the marketing, then they're not going to close on the fucking sale. Do I got a Mark Cuban Shark Tank your ass? We were just watching Shark Tank on the members show every Monday on Patreon and YouTube. But it's like, do I got to break this shit down Kevin O'Leary style? Like, come on, man.
Match with these two guys together that I know will be great. That's all he's saying.
I think the best illustration of what Hunter means is if you have a guy like Sami Zayn,
boom,
he's clearly going.
What the fuck? Good old Canadian boys. We get it up north here in our igloos here, okay, buds?
Going to have a great match with anybody. He almost always has the best match on the show anyway. So with a guy like that, you're better to look at him and go, okay, what's the best story I can tell with him? And your Bloodline one is a great example because that caught fire and really helped ignite business when it happened.
And that shit gets over more than Tony's method because that's a bad method that other
So Triple H said
matchmakers tried in the past. And that's what Jim Cornette tried to fucking warn everybody about.
Thank you, fuck you, bye, boom.
He tried to tell everyone that's what was going to happen in this situation. And so moving along here, Dave Meltzer discusses who could be Booker of the Year. And he says, I don't think Levesque has a chance. Compared to who? So this is the other thing, too. Doesn't have a chance compared to what? Just Tony Khan. How many people are in the running for this? Who books TNA? Carlos Silva? I don't even think he books it. It's like, who the fuck books that show? Compared to who? Rossi Ogawa again? Who can you compare the booking to? It's either you're going to give it to Triple H or Tony Khan. Stop playing fucking dumb. He doesn't stand a chance. Against who? Tony Khan? Bro. Fuck you talking about?
I don't think that Levesque has a chance to win Booker of the Year, even with the business. And I think that the Cena turn is going to be the reason why. Story-wise, it was terrible. I guess that's
story-wise, it was terrible. The thing that broke social media, got a bunch of fucking casuals to jump back on board. The thing that broke the internet, that Cena fucking heel turn. And it's just one thing he clings at. That Cena heel turn was terrible. And again, who is it terrible for? Who is it terrible for? Like, I'm sorry. It's his final run. He did everything. We covered this on the live show as well. Cena did a heel turn. We got to see him turn back mega babyface. Like, it wouldn't be as sweet now if he just babyfaced the whole way through. We'd be tired of it. We'd be like, man, we're sick of Cody Rhodes and John Cena both just white meat baby facing it up. White face. That's what Tony Storm did during Blood and Guts. White meat baby facing it up every show. We'd be sick of it. But the fact he turned heel, and again, it's like, well, that's terrible booking. The story sucked. Okay, but you guys all wanted to blame The Rock for that. So how do you even put that on Triple H? Do you factor that in? What about Tony Khan? His booking's so bad, 2 wrestlers left the show instead of working the match they booked him in. Do you factor that in? You know, like,
that's the way we put it. It was just they had no story. They went out there and it's just like, we're going to turn him heel to shock everyone. Shocked everyone. Everyone wanted to cheer him as a heel, which they should have figured.
No, they booed the shit out of him, Dave. They booed the shit out of him, and people did cheer it because it's Cena. It's just like when he was a monster babyface, and half the crowd was booing him and cheering him. He's just polarizing. It's John fucking Cena. He's bigger than any pro wrestling company, any one pro wrestling company.
And his whole blaming the fan stuff, it just didn't work. It's it's something that like it was like a high mid card act. Except it was
No, it wasn't. It was classic, old school, literally day one, repackaging day one. You fans turned on me. Just repackaging the oldest fucking trick in the book, and he's so over it worked. And you're a mark.
John Cena. Then he turns back with no good reason.
Just because The Rock left. So again, do you put that on Triple H? Does that mean that Triple H isn't a good booker? Or does that mean, again, Cena just went oldest trick in the book? I lost my ways, just like 101. He's so over, he can get away with it. WWE is typically serving up stories like Drew and Rhodes, Drew and Punk, The Bloodline, which was just absolutely monstrous, a monstrous storyline for years. The Judgment Day, Dirty Dom and Liv and Rhea and everything they went through. They're serving up these stories that we're just super into along the way for the last how many years, okay? I just don't think that you can take the one fault because The Rock fucked off and go, yeah, that was just so bad and dumb. It's like, yes, you get a pass from time to time in the unpredictable world. When it's all shit, you get less passes. That's why, Dave, you and your reporting and Tony Khan's booking get less passes. Dave's trying to construct this narrative, and we're here to knock it down.
Well, we all admit it failed. Okay, but
what
okay,
failed?
even if
The sellouts, the babillion t-shirts, everywhere he went, he was still doing like that town's shirt, even though he's a heel, and he's selling a babillion shirts, and it's sellouts everywhere. And they're doing good ratings, and you're just looking at this Halloween shit as like it's the end of WWE.
We admit it failed. Come up with a story to go back. They didn't even bother. It was just like, so that's where, like Booker of the Year, Paul won last year, and I don't see him.
So one bad story.
Tony Khan would.
What about all the bad stories Tony Khan has dished up this year, dude?
Tony Khan would have won, except for Nielsen. I'll say it's like this year, AEW pay-per-view, best year of any company.
And this is the other cope too. Dave lies and says that all the pay-per-views are up. The pay-per-views are up. The pay-per-views are up. The pay-per-views
Liar!
are up. Meanwhile, the houses are down. The TV ratings are down. Everything's down. That we can visibly see. Everything that we can measure and that's tangible. And that's palatable. No, none of that. That's all doesn't reflect how their pay-per-views are just selling like hotcakes. How?
Liar!
You're a fucking liar.
You goddamn liar!
You're a fucking liar and a shill con artist.
Ever when it comes to pay-per-view itself. TV generally good on Wednesday. And
you're a Tony Khan artist.
Collisions hit and miss. Didn't feel important, but sometimes you had good matches. But the Wednesdays, most of the time, really freaking good TV. All the momentum, and then the Nielsen thing changes, and now it looks like they collapsed. And it's really hard to vote on Booker of the Year when it collapses. So I think Booker of the Year is going to be very interesting.
Till I collapse, I'm spilling these raps, Bryan. So here is Dave again. He's talking with Garrett or Gary or whatever his name is. My Mexican friend, Bryan. And he's looking ahead at the year-end awards, and he says he doesn't see a lot of big awards for WWE. I don't see a lot of big awards. What, your goofy-ass dumb awards that no one cares about, that less people... You're doing 50% off fire sales and less people vote in your awards than ever. Just like AEW, less people are watching and participating than ever.
Let's take a look at a couple of the year-end awards here. Thoughts on the Luthez Ric Flair Award?
I think it's Mystico. Pretty solid on it, actually.
It's Hitchacero, Brian.
Just in from Phil Marks of PWT. He says,
It's Hitchacero. It's Mystico.
I told you
It's
so.
El Dorado.
I watch him every week. The business.
So I watch him every week. So he's going to win the Ric Flair Award.
Is great. The reaction is great. He's been in major matches.
Major matches.
His performances have been very good. I mean, he's not the best wrestler in the world by any means, but his matches have been pretty damn great almost all year. I expect Adam Page to do well. Cody should do fine. But I don't see Mystico. To me, is a very Mystico is very clear.
Category? It's crazy how he just talks about it like it's a race. Should do fine, like what? What does that mean? Do fine, like the best supporting actor Cody Rhodes will get if Adam Page does well and gets the Wrestler of the Year. It's so goofy,
most
so out of
outstanding.
touch.
I mean, it would have been Ospreay. He got hurt.
It would have been Ospreay because I would have given him all of the stars, and I just know that it would have been him if he didn't get hurt. It just would have been, because this is all just made up in my mind, and I just would have just given it to him. And rigged the ballots.
I think that my feeling the sentiment is going to be Takeshita, Bandito, Moscow Dorada. Kyle Fletcher's up there. Adam Page is up there.
For what? Up there for what?
I can't come up with anyone from WWE.
Just the Ric Flair Award?
Maybe Io Sky. I don't see like a lot of big awards for WWE. Obviously, Io Sky for Women Wrestler of the Year, but I don't even think she's a lock, because I could see, like I said, Sai Kamatani for that one.
Oh my God. Tony Storm.
Tony Storm for that one. I know some people may vote for Mercedes because she won all those belts.
Oh my, because she won all those belts. Dave, if you think that your readers and your audience and your votees are going to vote for Monet because she has won a bunch of belts this year, you're all fucking marks, and you should like disavow them.
You what? You fucking mark!
Be like, yeah, that doesn't win you this award. Okay, so speaking of Ric Flair, we have just a couple Dave Glazes, under 2.5, guys, right? I tried to bring it down a bit. I thought we were going to hit the 2-hour mark. Next week we will, again, refining the show here. It's been an amazing one, but an update on Ric Flair. This is why he wasn't at Blood and Guts, allegedly. I threw this in here last minute, according to Bryan Alvarez here. He was there, and we saw photographs. He cut a promo, and he has a health.
What happened to Ric Flair?
I guess is Dave here
there.
too? Yay,
He
Dave!
suffered a torn rotator cuff. I believe it was from a fall, but I'm not sure.
It was from doing push-ups on a bar floor somewhere in Jacksonville.
Exactly how he got it, but he just got it. And he went to the show, and he came out to talk to the fans. He took his arm out of a sling because he didn't want them seeing his arm in a sling, but his arm was in a sling. And he was booked to appear on the show. And I don't know if he was going to be in that Steamboat angle, but he would definitely it probably was the case. I would think it's a pretty good chance that was the case. And just felt that, he couldn't do that angle. So,
he was probably going to be in that angle. Move along. Don't re-say the same thing in 3 sentences.
He was in a lot of pain. So he actually went home after he did his promo, which was before the show started. So he was there, but he's hurt, so that's the deal.
What happened to Ric Flair?
So he injured himself doing push-ups on a bar somewhere, at a bar, doing the plank challenge on a bar floor. And then Tony paid him anyways and accommodated him, and he just cut a promo, then dipped out. That's the most Ric Flair shit ever. So Brian and Dave and, Dave Meltzer, there's another clip or a quote going around, and I'm sure he'll clip it, but he was talking about like, AEW, they just deliver time and time again when they play. Meanwhile, all the sickos hate on only 3 matches. Only 3 matches on a PLE? Oh, I watch my wrestling show to see wrestling. Meanwhile, what about any of that was wrestling? It was just blood, carnage, mayhem, stunts. You could argue none of that was even pro wrestling. And then they had a falls count anywhere match, then a big brawl backstage. So 3 matches and then just a million people fighting. The cages didn't matter. People were just escaping cages and shit. Zero psychology. Nothing fucking mattered. Just carnage and mayhem front to back, which maybe isn't a bad thing. And all the sickos, and on Cage Match, the Blood and Guts Dynamite got like a 9.5 rating, and all the sickos just loved it. One of the greatest dynamites of all time. And it's like, man. It really, and then with the overrun too, like, no, man. You guys, this show went long. That's criticisms that you would give to WWE for being too long back in the day. These shows are too long. Okay. This shit went too long, and it was just 3 matches. It's just another thing that they would use against WWE. So I don't want to hear this bullshit about, like, I want to watch wrestling on my wrestling show. I guess it was just wrestling front to back, except for that Steamboat part. But then that was just a schmoz too. Like, that was just a bunch of people brawling in the end and hitting punches on FTR and shit. So, yeah, I mean, what more can I say about that shit? The bed of nails was stupid. The fucking people, like, immediately people are leaving the cage, and the cage just means nothing. It was fucking stupid overall. And I don't think anybody got more over from that shit. And I'm okay with blood. I don't care that sky blue bled everywhere, but like, she just is known for doing crazy. She's known for getting landed on and breaking her leg, falling in the barbed wire, getting caught in it, and being stuck and needing help out from the fucking barbed wire. She's known for cutting herself open hardware and just gushing everywhere. And then other girls on the roster are known for doing crazy hardcore shit too. Toni Storm stapling pussies and doing the kickboxer spot where she's dipping her hand in glass and punching people. And Dave thinks this is like cool, and oh, this match, this whole show, AEW delivers. Bro, more people are turning this shit off than ever.
Tony Khan.
You could not be more out of touch, delusional, and just unknowing of what the fuck is going on. So let's watch this final clip here of the evening. And yeah, Brian says this shit. One thing you can say about AEW is when they advertise something, they deliver. Dave was glazing it more in this other clip. It might actually be in here, but I was like so disgusted by it. I was like, oh my God. But he just said like one thing at the end, so I didn't include it. But here we go.
Blood and Guts was 2.5 hours, and it was probably the bloodiest, craziest wrestling television show that maybe has ever aired.
Oh, that's going to help them so much. That's going to help them greatly. Come the deal and the fucking splitting of the companies, and with the TV ratings and the attendance is what they are. That's going to help them so much, Bri.
2 Blood and Guts matches. And the one thing you can say about AEW is when they advertise something, they deliver, because
these were great matches. Even
they really weren't, David. They were not. They really were not, dude. The first one, the women's, was really good until Monet came in, and then Marina came in, and they both just fucked that matchup. And 6-on-6 is too many people. The men's match had a bunch of people no one cares about. Darby went through fire tables because he's a fucking mark for himself. And they left the cage and climbed up the stage and then threw him off the fucking stage. Like we haven't seen shit happen, or threw him onto the stage they were trying to do Here Comes the Pain or whatever, like the SmackDown fist. They were trying to do that sort of thing. And it was cringe as fuck because it made no sense. And it meant the cage meant nothing. We'll throw him off the cage then. Why the fuck is the cage there? It's just stupid. They had to put out a warning saying, hey, you're responsible. Tony Khan goes on television and legit for a shoot says, I feared for my life at a wrestling show. And then aired the footage, and a table got wobbled in front of him. A desk got bumped in front of him. And he went on TV and said, I feared for my life at a wrestling show. Meanwhile, he puts up warnings before this show. Hey, if there's any debris or anything crazy like fire or fucking anything flies at you, you assume all responsibility. If you lose an eye from whatever these fucking bumblefucks do in this ring tonight, and some shit, fucking something goes flying at you or your kid, you're responsible for it. Meanwhile, dude feared for his life. Buddy feared for his life when a desk got bumped. It's a fucking joke. You're not allowed to say they delivered, man. Oh boy, what amazing wrestling. It's a clown show.
Guts.
These weren't the war games of the 80s. I kind of wish they were. I kind of liked those war games matches, where it was just no weapons. You didn't go out of the cage. You actually fought in the cage. You did your crazy brawling and everything like that. You had your blood. I mean, this is just like broken glass and more broken glass and thumbtacks and getting out of the cage and climbing through the little hole in the cage for the women did, and getting to the top, Mark Briscoe and Wheeler Yuta. There was so much stuff in these.
Yeah, all that shit was trash, garbage. Seen it before, except for the fucking crawling through the holes in the cage. That's a shitty cage design. It means the booking was bad. If the booker books a cage match with the idea of trapping everyone in so they can fight each other, but then even in kayfabe, the fucking ladies can crawl out and shit like that, and Orange Cassidy and Daniel Garcia can crawl through the holes, then that's bad booking, because that's a shitty, bad, dumb fucking cage design. And it just defeated the purpose of what the match was supposed to entail. And it's not that you can't ever leave the fucking cage, but it's like, oh, Yuta and Briscoe went up there. Who gives a fuck? What did they do? Who cares? It amounted to nothing.
Matches. But they were spectacle. And I mean, I think it was one of the best TVs that they've done, for crazy wrestling, and they had, look, I'm
best
not a
TV
fan.
shows they've done for crazy wrestling. So like what? Like, oh, it's the craziest shit they did, and it was the best, craziest show compared to what? The Texas Chainsaw match? Like, what does that even mean?
Of bloodbaths, but when you advertise a show as blood and guts, okay, and then you deliver blood and guts, I think that people who will complain about it, I think that it's
no, that's not a cop out, dude. Oh, it's like, it's the pay-per-view Bad Blood, and then you see some blood. No, you're being a mark. Shut the fuck up. We didn't see any guts, so shut up. We saw blood. There was no guts, so don't do this literal, what is it, Amelia Bedelia, right? And it's like that old kid's book where she takes everything seriously or whatever, like literally. Don't be literal, Dave. Like, no, it was called Blood and Guts, so if you complain about it, I mean, it's what they said it was going to be. They didn't say it's going to be crawl out the cages. We built these cages so that Darby could jump through fire.
You were warned
on the stage, not in the cages.
You have no right to complain about blood in a freaking blood and guts match. So,
and blood and guts. Dave, it's called War Games. They just called it that mark shit because Cody Rhodes couldn't get the name War Games. He couldn't retain the rights to that. And they got in trouble for trying to do Bash at the Beach or whatever. And so they call it Blood and Guts because Tony Khan's a mark, and they fucking came up with a terrible name.
Oh, it was too much.
Blood and Guts is a terrible name.
And everything like that. And you know what? It's a blood and guts match. That's what they are. When you advertise a blood match and you deliver a blood match, you're only doing exactly what you advertised.
So people can't be mad at it. Yeah, they can still say it's garbage. And yes, they are doing what they're advertised.
Blood and Guts was.
But the problem is that, just like you, Dave, what's advertised is crusty, musty, dusty, and rusty. And that's why we'll forever clown you, Dave. You're shilling, even though you got some based Meltzer flutes last week, none this week. Because you fucked up. You spurged out, you melted down, you shilled, you showed your cards. And the fact that you think Tony Khan, after some shit like that, could be considered for Booker of the Year is a travesty. And that's why we play flutes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Dave Meltzer Dumb Moment of the Week. We cooked them. We burnt them up. It's going down. 75% off coming soon. ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody who tuned in. Make sure to give this a good rating or like or subscribe or tell a friend. I've been your host, Phil Marks, close to 2.5, trying to keep it lower. Next week, we're going to hit 2 or below, I promise. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. This was another edition of #DMDMW. Guys, what else? PWT podcasts, make sure you check those out. PWT live show, episode 200 coming up of the live show. Okay, it won't be this Saturday's edition, but this Wednesday's edition. So make sure you tune in for that spectacle. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the Upside Down. Fuck you, Dave.
Oh my God, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. You're overdue. I just felt it's something that makes you look good, and that's cool, and you know, I'm all for it, but I think you need to tone this down because now it's getting intrusive to the show. But they can go in the afternoon for a US
Hold
show,
on a second.
as they did there, and they can do 180,000 buys for an afternoon show, which they've also done for All In. So
okay,
we
hold
know
on.
they can do. We know they can do big.
Can I continue this before you cut me off? We know one thing.
Yes.
We know it might have done well because it went on first.
I'm not saying it would.
Here's my thing, Dave.
But here's okay. Wait. Okay, here's the thing. Oh my God, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, it didn't mean anything to me. It was just a match.
That's the problem, Dave. It should mean something to you.
Give him a quick squash win just to show that, like, you know, he's not a loser.